Okie dokie. We're back with Catalyst, Book 3 in the Transcendent series by Lisa Beeson. Chapter 3. Quiet. As the twins pushed open the doors to the pool for Ari, the humid air and the smell of the chlorine automatically brought her back to the time when she was on the dive team back in Savannah. It seemed so long ago to her now, even though it had really only been a little over a year. The twins' squeals quickly brought her back to the present, as they shed their towels and Soren dropped Ari's pool bag on the ground in excitement. They started to run around the edge of the pool. She was about to shout after them, but Wyatt beat her to it. "Walk!" Wyatt barked out through his office intercom. "We don't need you two busting your heads open." The walls between the different sections of the gym and the pool area were a clear plexiglass, and his second-floor office had a bird's-eye view of what he considered his domain, which in a sense it was, since he was responsible for anyone who came into the gym area. Besides the weight room and the pool, there was also an open court dedicated to indoor sports activities, which was adjacent to a skate park consisting of a half pipe and one rail, and an elaborate jungle gym, which the twins liked to play on while Ari worked out in the weight room with Cam and Wyatt. Wyatt has his hands full taking care of everything. The twins barely slowed down to a shuffling walk as they were just about to jump into the deep end. "Nuh-uh, don't you dare," Wyatt warned them. "Go sit on the stairs in the shallow end until I get down there." That made them stop. They looked up towards Wyatt's office like what he said was the most unfair thing in the world. Then they looked back at Ari for an appeal, but she only nodded towards the shallow appendage of the pool. "Go on, listen to Wyatt." When Skylar started to pout, Ari added, "Tell you what, if you stay on the stairs until he gets there, I'll let you two have my dessert tonight." Their eyes lit up at the promised treat, and they quickly shuffled over to sit on the steps like perfect little angels. Ari knew that by the time Wyatt got down there, Skylar would most likely only have one toe still touching the steps, but as long as she stayed in the shallow end, that's all that mattered. Neither of them were strong swimmers yet. Claudia and Cam were already doing laps in the sectioned-off lanes. Claudia's routine of early morning swimming was what gave Cam the idea to get Ari in the pool in the first place. The whole body exercise was a good way to get her back in shape. She sat down on one of the lounge chairs placed around the pool, putting her crutches on the chair beside it, and bent over to pick up her pool bag that Soren had dropped in his haste. She got out her goggles and put them on, and then fished out the waterproof earbuds, turning them on and securing them snugly into her ear canals. She queued up the Crush It playlist that Cam had made for her and transferred to her skin cuff, which was also waterproof. He had said that working out to his playlist would be like having her own get back into shape montage theme music. She couldn't help inwardly chuckling at some of his cheesier song choices, but she had to admit it really did give her that extra kick when she needed it. Just as she was about to hit play, Claudia and Cam's heads popped up out of the water at the end of the pool near where she was sitting, and they rested their arms up on the edge. Cam spat out some water and tapped his cuff to pause his playlist. "Took you long enough. I was beginning to think you were trying to scam out of your workout," he teased with that impish grin of his. "Ah, I would never," Ari gasped in mocked indignation. "I just forgot to set my alarm and accidentally overslept," she tossed out lamely. She wanted to tell him about her bizarrely detailed memory, but she didn't want to do it in front of Claudia. So far, only Joshua and the adults of Scion's Keep knew that she wasn't human, and Ari wanted to keep it that way for as long as she could. She was already different enough without throwing that can of worms into the mix. Even though the kids were... Cher, what are you doing? Gamora, you're the one cutting off Lucy right now. Do I need to intervene, or can you take a couple steps back there, Missy? Oh, Gamora, you're right there. Callie, you're being a brat. Leave your sister alone. Sorry, Gamora. It looked like you from the back. You silly. Oh, you're so cute. Oh, you guys are so cute, my babies. Oh, goodness. Oh, my little baby butts. My little baby butts. You coming up? Okay. Oh, what's your baby? Oh, my honey. Hi, Callie. You want to come up? Come on up. Oh, or you can come up. There we go. Oh, my silly babies. What's your my silly babies? Yeah. Why are you trying to block your sister from the food? That wasn't very nice, was it? Yeah, it's not funny. Not when it comes to the food. You gotta share. So we can all get big and strong. Huh. All get big and strong. Alright, I gotta get back to the book. I gotta get back to the book, my silly little butt. Oh, my silly little butts. There's Mufasa. I don't know if he's come on screen yet. Oh, yes, you silly. Oh, my babies. Oh, to my babies. All right, hop down, beautiful. Wah. Okay. Sorry for the extended interruption there. But that's what makes this different from regular audiobooks. This is just like a friend or big brother just reading you a story. And there are interruptions. Particularly cute little puppy dogs. Alrighty. I guess I'll take this opportunity. I don't have electricity or plumbing, but now that it's starting to get colder, I can have Coca-Cola again. Well, it's off-brand Coca-Cola, but I can start having it again because it won't just be hot. It's starting to cool down. But then it'll get too cold later on, so I only have a few months where it's the perfect temperature to be able to drink it at. Alrighty. Even though the kids here were the descendants of ancient humans and Anu colonists, they were still essentially human. And after everything Ari had been through, she wouldn't be able to take their rejection or fear. The adults hid it well, but every now and then she would catch one of them watching her and sense a bit of uneasiness. She'd just have to tell Cam about it later when she told Hugo. A likely excuse, but I guess I can let it pass just this once, Cam said in a pseudo-serious tone, but then he grinned as he pulled himself out of the water. Ari couldn't help noticing Claudia ogling him as he got out of the pool and ambled over to her lounge chair. Over the past week, Ari had noticed them trying to be discreet. Paws off the desk. Love you, baby. Over the past week, Ari had noticed them trying to be discreet while they alternately checked each other out. It was actually kind of entertaining watching all the convoluted ways they'd find to spend time with each other, and yet not in any way acknowledge or admit the fact that they were obviously into one another. Every time they came in close contact, Ari could see their radiant energies sparking, which she only saw when people were attracted to each other. Even though Cam and Ari had a deep, abiding bond and had been inseparable for almost a year, she surprisingly wasn't as jealous of Cam's divided attention as she thought she would be. She was actually happy for him, though the thought of losing him felt like a twisted dagger in her chest. She trusted that her spot in his heart would never change. They had been through too much together. He was the only constant in her life, but Ari was determined not to smother and suffocate him with her love. He needed breathing room to develop other relationships, and so did she. Besides, he deserved to have someone crushing on him just as much as he was crushing on her. And Claudia just turned 18 last month, which meant she was 7 months older than him. so she was right up his alley since Cam preferred older women. Ari liked Claudia. She had been friendly and playful. Ari liked Claudia. She had been friendly and helpful to her ever since Ari had woken up after the explosion. In fact, everyone's Ari's met here has been friendly, except for Val and Alvaro, who've basically avoided her like a leper. Val avoided everyone, so Ari wasn't too upset about that. But Alvaro she felt horrible about. He had tried to warn her in that bookstore back in New York about the suit's impending attack, but she had been mean and bitchy to him, and now he couldn't even look at her without wincing and making a quick exit. She was determined to apologize to him, even if she had to hobble over and tackle him to the ground in order to do so. Her contemplation was broken when Cam sat down heavily on the end of the chair, and nearly upending them both. "Ready?" he asked, rubbing the wet hair on the top of his head towards her, spritzing her with tiny droplets of water. "Yes," Ari said in exasperation, as she shimmied out of her shorts and pulled her shirt over her head, revealing the thick scars going across her clavicle and left shoulder. Everyone was pretty much used to how she looked now and didn't make a big deal about it, so she didn't feel as self-conscious as she had before. She slipped her foot out of her sandal and stood up, letting Cam help her over to the edge of the pool. She jumped into the swimming lane next to Claudia, and Cam jackknifed into the lane next to her and created a huge splash. Ari rolled her eyes and grinned as she tapped the shuffle playlist icon on her cuff, and her ears were filled with a fast-paced remix of Kelly Clarkson's song, Stronger. She pushed off the side with her left leg and started to pull herself through the water with her modified freestyle stroke, trying to keep pace with Cam and Claudia on either side of her. This was only her second time trying to swim with one leg, and it was hard getting over the fact that her phantom right leg, which seemed shorter than her left leg and always felt twisted in a cramped position, wasn't going to help her move through the water. Last time they swam, Wyatt had spent... I'm still stuffed up and it's making it hard to read. Apologize. Ugh. I'd like to say I'm slowly getting better, but it really doesn't feel like it. Last time they swam, Wyatt had spent almost the whole time working with her and helping her find a kicking rhythm that, for the most part, kept her going in a straight line. They found that if she did an exaggerated rocking motion with her hips and kicked her left leg in an oblong propeller motion, coming out wide and then cutting across to her right side, making an elongated oval, seemed to work best. After the first lap, Claudia and Cam were only about a body length or so ahead of her, but after the third lap, they had pulled ahead by about 2 body lengths. By the end of the fourth lap, she had to take a break. Cam and Claudia both stopped and swam back to her as she took in deep gulps of air into her burning lungs and paused her playlist. "That was much better than last time," Claudia said enthusiastically. "Yeah, Pipes, you did great." Cam gave her an encouraging pat on her back. "Thanks," Ari said between deep breaths, trying to smile back at them. "At least I'm not going in circles anymore," she joked, and Claudia and Cam laughed good-naturedly with her. Ari appreciated their encouragement, but she hated how weak and out of shape she felt. She had always been an excellent swimmer, but now she had to expend more than 2 times the energy she would have if she still had all of her right leg. "Suck it up and adapt," she told herself determinedly. The phrase had become her new mantra. Every time she started feeling like life was too hard, she'd mentally smack herself upside the head and tell herself to suck it up and adapt. She refused to let her body's limitations keep her from doing what she wanted to do. After a quick look over at the shallow part of the pool to check up on her minions, trying their best to stay on task and listen to Wyatt, she nodded at Cam and Claudia. "Okay, ready?" They both nodded back. She tapped play on her cuff, and the 3 of them pushed off the side of the pool. The Distance by Cake flooded her ears as she tried her best to keep up with them. By the time they were done with the rehab session, Ari was absolutely exhausted. She dragged herself out of the pool and sat on the edge. Hold on. Alrighty, let's try this again. She dragged herself out of the pool and sat on the edge. And after he got out, Cam helped her back over to the lounge chair. She noticed, thankfully, that Kari had left them their green sludge super smoothies on his way into the gym. As she greedily slurped down the concoction from the cup that had her name on it, she looked through the plexiglass wall to see the large Maori man already thoroughly engrossed in his CrossFit regimen in the weight room. Corey wasn't quite as big as Jean-Baptiste, but he sure was close. The funny thing was that he had his main motive... The funny thing was that he said his main motivation to stay in shape was so he could keep up with his wife, Nina, which to an outsider would seem ridiculous. Nina was about 100 pounds soaking wet and 5 foot nothing, but her looks were definitely deceiving. The tiny Ukrainian woman was a powerhouse of strength, able to lift ridiculously heavy things like they weighed nothing. Ari figured Nina must still be working in the industrial-sized kitchen, cooking up breakfast for everyone. Both she and Corey were excellent chefs, which is how they ended up meeting in the first place. They had both been working in a fancy restaurant in Montreal, where they fell in love and eventually found out they both had supernatural abilities. Always a fun surprise. Nina accidentally showed him her super strength one day, and to show her that she wasn't alone, he showed her how he's able to produce extremely high levels of heat from his hands. After they were married, Gordon recruited the Tahanas to cook for Scion's Keep. They took the job, and now they live at Scion's Keep with their 2 kids, Ellie and Taika, who are powerful in their own right. Ellie can concentrate photons to create floating sparks of light, and Taika can manipulate the particles around small and relatively light objects to move them telekinetically. "All right, kids," Wyatt said loudly enough for all of them to hear. "Time to dry off and get ready for breakfast." Ari, Cam, and Claudia quickly finished up their smoothies, which thankfully replenished some of Ari's energy with its superfood properties, while the twins grudgingly got out of the pool and made their way over to them. Claudia wrapped them up like little burritos in their towels and started patting them down to dry them off, while Ari pulled up her damp hair into a top knot and put her shirt and shorts on over her bathing suit. She was thankful that the smoothie kept her stomach from letting out an embarrassing growl at the mention of food. Ever since Maya, Scion's Keep's resident biochemist, helped George find just the right combination of fruits, vegetables, and herbs for Ari, her appetite hadn't been nearly as ravenous. She was still able to eat vast quantities of food, but her body didn't require it as much as it had before. But unfortunately, the smoothie was now a muddy greenish-brown color, which was not very appetizing at all. Cam wrapped his towel around his waist and then grinned over at the twins' untouched smoothie cups on the tray. "Hey, Pluck and Moxie," he called out, using his nicknames for Soren and Skylar. Dogs. "Are you gonna drink your super smoothies? They're nice and chunky today. Good for putting hair on your chest," he said with a wry grin. Cam knew they hated the sludgy concoctions, but he liked teasing them about it anyway. "Oh, thank you for getting my knee all muddy." That was my dog. Sorry, not part of the story. The twins' faces screwed up in disgust. "Ew, gross, no!" Skylar squealed, while Soren shook his head in firm denial. "All right," Cam shrugged. "More chest hair for me, then," he said while picking up their cups and pretending to drink from them, making them both giggle. He held out one of the cups towards Ari enticingly. "What do you say, Pipes? Want some manly chest hair?" he asked, causing them all to crack up. Ari grinned ruefully at him as she slung her pool bag over her shoulder. Tempting," she said as she grabbed her crutches and stood up. "But no." Cam shrugged and put the cups back down on the tray. "Your loss," he teased. After Wyatt was done putting away the kickboards he used with the twins, he came over just as Claudia and Cam were finishing gathering all their stuff up. And, "Hey, chill out." And they were all getting ready to go to the dining hall. Good day. Good day. I can't talk. Can't do it. Nope, not talking anymore. Y'all are gonna have to read my mind to finish the book. Good job today, Squirts, he said, smiling down at the twins. You'll be swimming in the deep end in no time. The twins looked at each other excitedly. Then Wyatt turned to Ari. Looks like the modified stroke is working out for you, he said. You were doing really well out there. Ari smiled. Yeah, thanks. A couple more sessions and I might actually be able to keep up with these two, she said, motioning her head towards Cam and Claudia. I'm sure you will. He gave her a genial pat on her shoulder. All right, see you later. See you, man, Cam said as he casually put his hand on Claudia's back and they started walking towards the doors, causing their energies to flare and spark with attraction where he touched her between the shoulder blades. Bye, Wyatt, Skylar called as she and Soren shuffled through the doors Cam held open for them, still wrapped up tightly in their towels. Ari nodded goodbye as she crouched behind her minions out the doors. Okay, that was a very painful to read chapter 3. We got done with it. It seemed like it was a bit of a struggle there. We will be going on to number 4. My noodles are not ready to be eaten yet. Here's the other thing about it getting colder is I have been eating the noodles, the instant noodles, because they actually reconstitute without hot water. But not so well in cold water. So I might have to figure out what else I'm going to eat over this winter season. But I love my noodles. Love noodles. I could eat noodles all the time. All the time, all the noodles. Hi, baby. Hi, beautiful. Oh, you guys got muddy. You guys got all muddy. What'd you do? What'd you do? Are you guys still digging to China? They have a hole out there they've been digging that literally goes up to my upper thigh. It's like, well, hold on. Oh no, it's longer than that. So it's like this deep of a hole to the tip of my fingers to like up here. That's how deep their hole is. They're digging to China as it is. I wonder where that saying came from. Oh, the baby. Mwah. Mwah. I love you. Silly baby girl. Alrighty, that was chapter 3. We'll be moving on. Peace.